Hi, my name's David. Today we're going to change the oil in a 2006 Gen 1 Hayabusa. It's a real easy job. I'll walk you through all the steps, and in my opinion there's no reason to pay somebody to change the oil on your bike. You'll do a better job, and you'll get to know your bike much better if you do it yourself. So we'll get started here. I've got a 2006 Hayabusa. I think for most models, older or newer, this procedure will be pretty similar, but there could be some minor differences. Okay, the supplies you'll need are, you'll need 3.5 quarts of 10W40 motor oil. I use Suzuki's fully synthetic, but that's up to you. Synthetic oil is far and away the best oil, so that's why I use it, but that's up to you. And you'll need an oil filter. I've got Suzuki's here. Their part number is 1651007J00, and you'll also need the washer for the drain plug. It's part number 09168-14004. The tools you'll need are a 17mm socket for the drain plug, and a ratchet was useful. If you want to properly torque that drain plug, you need a torque wrench. We'll be torquing it to 17 foot-pounds. You'll need a small funnel for filling the oil after you've drained it. And for removing the fairings, you'll need a 4mm Allen wrench. Socket also helpful for that. And for removing the oil filter, it's convenient to have the filter that's made for this. I bought this on eBay, I believe. You can buy it from Suzuki. Anyway, it fits perfectly. It makes the job a little bit easier. You'll need an oil drain pan to drain the oil into, some rags or some shop towels. And if you have it, a rear stand is convenient for keeping the bike vertical. If you don't have a rear stand, you can just put some blocks of wood underneath the side stand to get the bike vertical. Okay, step one is you've got to remove the two side fairings, and there's a bottom rear piece. So to do this, you need to remove a number of these Allen head fittings up here. You'll need to remove this one, and you'll need to remove these three here, and then this one here, and then down here there are a few more here, down along the bottom. And then you can't see it very well, but in the back, when you look underneath, you'll see there's some this piece back here by the rear wheel. You'll see if you look underneath, there's some screws you undo to remove that. Okay, underneath the bike, this rear piece, you only need to undo the forward two fasteners. You do not need to remove these rear two. So just undo these. I've already removed them here, that's why you can't see them. Just undo these, remove these front ones. And one other screw I didn't remember to tell you need to remove is back here, this bottom rear one back here. So once you've removed all those, I'll show you how you lift this piece off. Okay, there's one other fastener I forgot to tell you about up here. It's a plastic one right up here, just the forward portion of the fuel tank. You just lift, it's plastic, as I say, you just lift it up with a screwdriver, and then just you pull that out. Okay, this is that plastic fitting. The center just lifts up, and then you can pull the whole thing out. So that's how that thing works. This side fairing just lifts out of place. Over here, there's a grommet that there's a post on this piece here that goes down in that grommet right there. So lift back here and it'll just come right out, and then the rest of it is all unscrewed, so it will come out. I'll show you here. I'll get it off. Okay, two other fasteners I forgot to tell you about are up here by the forks, the front fork. We're underneath the headlight here, and we're back up underneath the fairing. So there are these two plastic fittings. There's one of them, and then the other one is back there. And the way these fittings work, you just take a 1/8 inch drill bit, something that size, and you push in the center of these little fittings, and then they come right out. I'll show you here. Okay, this is one of the two plastic fittings. Again, you just take an 1/8 inch drill bit, the blunt end of it, and you push in the center of it, and then that'll release it and you just lift the whole thing out. That's all there is to it. Okay, this is the side fairing removed. This is that little peg that goes into that grommet I showed you up at the top. And one thing that maybe I should have done, but it worked without doing it, is remove these 3 screws here and remove this little piece. Probably would have come off a little more easily, but it came off. Okay, with the right side fairing removed, you can see it gives you real good access. There's the oil filter down there. The drain plug is down there behind that pipe. And here's a good shot of that grommet that pin drops down into. This is up, right by your fuel tank, right here, just forward of this black plastic piece. What I would suggest doing before you put it back on is put some silicone grease in there. It'll make installing it and removing it in the future that much easier. So now we need to warm up the engine. So I'm going to take it outside, start it and run it for about 5 minutes, get the oil warmed up, and then we'll bring it back inside and put an oil pan beneath it and drain that oil. So back in a minute. Okay, we're getting ready to drain that oil. If you have some cardboard scraps, lay them down underneath the bike. It'll, in case you spill anything, it'll make it easier to clean up. Get your oil pan underneath that drain plug. Get your 17mm socket out and get ready to undo that drain plug. Before you do that, go to your filter cap and just loosen this or remove it. It will allow the oil to drain out that much more quickly. So, okay, we're going to put the remove that drain plug and get that oil out of there. Okay, while you're waiting for that oil to drain, take your drain plug, remove the washer. If it's a magnetic drain plug like I've got here, an aftermarket one, then wipe off the magnetic residue off of it and put on your new washer and get your torque wrench out, and we'll install the drain plug here in a minute. Okay, before you install that drain plug, take a rag and wipe off the opening, make sure there's no dirt there, and then just install it by hand. Get it finger tight, and then get your torque wrench out, and we're going to torque it to 17 foot-pounds. Okay, to remove that filter, put your oil filter wrench on your socket, your ratchet, and then just get it up in there and undo it. Get your oil drain pan underneath there, and it's not a bad idea. I think I'll do this. Get some foil, cover those pipes, and that way you won't get oil in the pipes and have smoke when you start it back up. Not that that's a big deal, but makes it a little bit cleaner. So we're going to remove that oil filter in just a minute here. Okay, it's a tight fit, but that filter wrench and the ratchet do fit in there. So just start loosening it, and loosen it enough that it drips, and let it drip into your oil pan. You've got your oil pan positioned underneath it, and once it finishes dripping, then you can go ahead and remove it. So just loosen it and let it drip as much as you need to for the dripping to stop. Okay, I've loosened it about 3/4. The oil's running out, dripping down in that pan, and we'll just let it drip for a few minutes, and then once it's stopped, then we'll go ahead and completely remove the filter. Okay, once you've removed that old filter, then take your new filter. This is the new one here. Dip your finger in the old oil and just run a little bit of oil around the O-ring on this new filter. And then before you install this, take a clean rag and wipe the area around the oil filter where it attaches up here, and clean that area real well. Make sure it's nice and clean before you install the new filter. So get the filter on. Once you've cleaned that, screw the filter on by hand till it just makes contact with that O-ring, and then you're going to tighten it 2 full turns to get it tight. So we'll be back here in a minute. Okay, with that wrench, that oil filter wrench on it, again, from the point that that O-ring first makes contact with the crankcase, then tighten it 2 full revolutions. I got mine to go about 1 7/8. It seemed plenty tight, but I didn't go any farther than that. So wipe it down, get any oil off of any fittings, and now we're ready to add oil to the crankcase. Okay, remove that oil filler cap and take your small funnel, and put that in there, and then we will add 3.5 quarts of oil. Back in a minute. Okay, before you install that oil filler cap, inspect the O-ring. Make sure it looks okay. If it looks suspect, then replace it, and wipe down that oil filler neck opening before you screw this in snugly. Then we're going to take it outside, run it for 5 or 6 minutes, looking for leaks, and so I'll be back in a minute here. Okay, take the bike outside, start it, run it for 5 or 6 minutes, and check around the drain plug and the oil filter. Make sure no oil is leaking. Okay, not a bad idea to take a mirror and check that drain plug. Make sure it's not leaking. And then check around the oil filter. Make sure no leaks around the oil filter. Okay, before putting the fairing on, it's a good idea to check the oil level. You can either have a friend hold the bike while you look in the viewing window, or you can do as I've done here, and you can take a mirror and mount it on a piece of wood, and then you can just look down in that mirror. But one way or another, just check the oil level, make sure that it looks like it's where it should be after you've warmed it up for a while. If it looks okay, then we can go ahead and start putting on that right fairing. Okay, the trick to getting this fairing on is up in this front section. There's a piece that kind of goes behind here. You got to get that into position, and then you've got to get the fittings up in here that go up underneath here. And then, as I mentioned earlier, there's this grommet that pin drops down into. So it's this front section that is the tricky part. Once you get that into position, then the back part is a piece of cake. It's not bad at all. So let's get going on this. Okay, once you've got it in position, the key thing holding in right now is the pin that goes into that grommet. Then just start putting in your fittings, and just make sure everything's lined up. Put them in loose. Just get them started. Don't tighten anything down until you've got all the fittings in. Okay, we're looking at the front bottom of this fairing, and my only point here is to make sure that the left and right sides mate and fit together properly down here. Same thing back here where this rear fairing is. Make sure that everything fits properly here, and then snug all these fittings up. Don't go nuts tightening them, but just tighten them firmly, but don't go berserk on them. And you'll notice that this screw up here and this one back here are larger than the other ones. That's pretty obvious, but I'll mention it anyway. So snug these fittings up, and that should be it. Okay, these are the little fittings up by the front forks. You push the middle part out. You pushed it in to remove it, but now to insert it, you push it out, and then you'll settle it down into that hole, and then you'll push the pin part flush, and that will click it in. And those go right up here. Up on the inside here. I removed both of them. I really didn't need to remove the one that's in the red paint there. It's just the one farther back that you need to remove. So install those two if you've removed them. Okay, you're done. You're all set now, and you can wait another year or so before you change that oil. And ride safely, and enjoy your Hayabusa. Goodbye.